Hi, it's Ninette. So our next question came from Theresa, who made the most gorgeous little copper bird houses, but not bird houses, bee houses. Look at what she did. Aren't they just gorgeous? So Theresa said she had a little bit of a struggle to get the copper to sit nicely on the wooden surface. So copper is quite a bit stiffer, even if you've got the same gauge, which means the same thickness as your aluminium or your pewter. The copper is stiffer, so a little bit more tricky and a little bit harder to work with. Okay, so she also said that she had a little bit of trouble with the seams and getting the copper to sit nicely on there. And then also you can see, if you look closely, on the sides, she had a little bit of trouble getting the metal to sit nicely. So the glue that she used probably wasn't strong enough. So I'll quickly show you what I do to, I actually use a paper pencil to go around my edges and smooth it down really neatly. And I'll show you which glue I use. Okay, so I'm not using actual copper with this. This is just copper coated aluminium. Okay, so it's quite thinner than what Theresa used in her project, but I thought I'll just show you a quick, this is just an offcut, so just a quick way of doing it. So what you want to do, if you have a block of wood or whatever design you actually want to work with, you first want to make sure that you have around a centimeter excess or enough to wrap around however wide your project is, your wood or whatever block you use, so that you've got enough of it to wrap over it when you're done. Okay, so this is normally what I do. It's just, it doesn't have to be perfect, so you just eyeball it. So just draw around your little block to use it as a template, so that you know where your design should go. Okay, so I'm quickly going to put a design on there, and then I'll be back to show you how we fix it onto the wood. Okay, so now that my design is on there, the next thing we want to do is put our glue. So this is what I use. I use contact cement. Okay, so it's a super strong adhesive. The guidelines is to put it on your metal as well as on your block. Leave it for a few minutes to get really tacky and then stick it on. So Theresa, I think that might answer your question as well. So you know, that is a good tip. Okay, so you don't need heaps of this stuff, but you want to make sure that you've got enough glue on there so that it'll actually stick. Okay, so you can just put a little bit of glue onto your block as well. Okay, so then, as I said, the best strategy is to just let it sit for about 20 minutes, but we don't have that kind of time. So just line it up. Okay, let it sit. And then my best tip for getting the corners nice and straight is to just cut them in line with my block. Okay, just like that. So you literally just cut those little squares out on the corners, like that. So you do this bit before you add any glue to the sides of your metal, otherwise your scissors will be full of glue. Okay, righty, so then we add a little bit more glue to the sides of it. Make sure you get it on the ends. And as I said, you don't need heaps of glue, because as you work your way around it, when you actually stick it onto the surface, it will spread out a little bit. Okay, so now this is how I do it. Make sure everything is stuck on there nice and tight, and then I fold it over like that. And then I use my paper pencil to make sure I rub it on there nice and evenly. And because it's got an angled tip, you just keep going, just gradually working your way around it until you can actually flatten it properly. Okay, so then if you have a look at this, you can see that the edge is perfectly smooth on there. Okay, and so then you just work your way around it. So again, taking your paper pencil and just gradually working your way over. Oops. So you'll see that this metal is quite a bit softer than copper, especially. So this is copper coated aluminium, and it's quite a thin one as well. I think this is a 38 gauge. So the higher the gauge, normally the thinner the metal and the easier to work with. So Theresa, again, I'm not exactly sure which gauge you used, but you should be able to still fold it over. Okay, so that is just the way I do it. I found that this way works the best. I don't do fancy corners because they normally don't line up. And there we go. So then afterward, you can just rub all over it again. Make sure that everything is nice and flat and flush with your wooden block. And if there's any bits sticking over, you can just trim these off right at the very end. Just make sure they're nice and tight. There we go. So that's how I do it. I hope that helps. Okay, so now that we've covered how to get your metal around an edge or around the block and how to get it to sit nicely, back to the issue of Theresa's birdhouse and the seams where the glue didn't take very well. So my best strategy would be, after you've stuck your metal to the wood, let it sit for a few minutes. You will see it pulling away. That is quite normal. Okay, it happens. So let the glue dry for a little bit, and then every now and then just check it. Take your paper pencil and just run it along the seams again, just to flatten it and try and get it around the corner as much as you can. Okay, so I hope that made sense.